There are moments when a single confession changes everything we thought we understood. For years, Abby and Brittany Hensel lived under a veil of admiration and mystery, fiercely guarding the private life they'd built behind the public fascination. Their story was one of resilience, teamwork, and quiet strength, until a rumor that had long floated in the shadows finally surfaced as truth. When their mother, Patty, confirmed what the world had whispered about for years, it wasn't a triumphant reveal. It was a fracture. The truth didn't simply reshape public perception. It changed the sisters' relationship with the one person they had always relied on most. This is the story of the revelation that shook them, the reason it hurt so deeply, and why it altered the way the world views the Hensel twins forever. The rumor that refused to die for years. Online gossip quietly grew into a persistent question. Did one of the Hensel twins get married? It began as a joke, a speculation, a provocative thought that spread through social media like wildfire. Abby and Brittany had spent their lives correcting assumptions, insisting on their individuality, and refusing to let strangers define them. But nothing fueled curiosity more than the possibility of marriage. People couldn't help asking, if one sister falls in love, what happens to the other? In 2021, whispers became louder, blurry photos, anonymous claims, and mysterious sightings. Yet the family remained silent, as they always had. Abby and Brittany were determined to keep their private life exactly that, private. But in 2024, a single wedding photo posted by Joshua Bowling, a U.S. Army veteran and nurse, ended the speculation forever. The internet finally had proof, and the world's hunger for answers erupted. The photo that changed everything. Joshua Bowling posted a photo that the world had never seen before. A wedding picture. There was Abby beside him in a wedding dress, smiling, while Brittany stood beside her as she always had. Part of the moment, part of the truth. Suddenly, the rumor wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was real. Abby had married in 2021, in a private ceremony that few people knew about. The world demanded answers. The twins didn't. They'd spent decades defending their right to privacy, and now their most intimate choice was suddenly public property. Their mother, Patty, became the unexpected voice that confirmed the story. Her admission was not meant as betrayal, she insisted, but the impact was undeniable. For Abby and Brittany, the confirmation wasn't just news. It was a boundary crossed, a mother's confession and a broken bond. Patty admitted she had known about the marriage from the beginning. She wasn't surprised by the news. She was their mother. But the decision to keep it private, even from extended family, created a deep tension. Relatives who felt entitled to know demanded answers. And when the rumor resurfaced publicly, Patty was bombarded by reporters, producers, neighbors, and strangers. For years, she deflected and denied, refusing to participate in the world's obsession. But eventually, she admitted the truth. Not because she wanted attention, but because she couldn't lie anymore. The world saw a simple clarification, but to Abby and Brittany, it felt like a betrayal. Their mother had always been their protector, the one person who promised to shield them from the world. Her confession shattered that promise. The twins were not angry because the truth was revealed. They were devastated because it was revealed by someone they trusted most. Why the confirmation hurt. So deeply, Abby and Brittany's lives had been shaped by a constant struggle to protect their identity. They grew up under intense scrutiny, cameras, documentaries, and endless questions about their bodies, their autonomy, and their future. As adults, they vowed never to allow someone else to narrate their lives again. Their mother's confession wasn't just a statement. It was proof that their private world could be exposed at any moment. The twins felt vulnerable, exposed and powerless. And in a life built on boundaries, that feeling was unbearable. The result was a painful silence between them and Patty, an emotional distance that had never existed before. It wasn't anger alone that caused the rift. It was a profound sense of betrayal, a belief that their mother had handed their private life to the world, a marriage that redefined their reality. To understand why Abby's marriage caused such shockwaves, you must understand how the twins lived long before Joshua entered their lives. From childhood, they fought for individuality. Abby loved sparkles and bright colors. Brittany preferred hats and muted tones. Their parents nurtured those differences, insisting on separate identities despite their shared body. But marriage was different. It wasn't just a personal decision. It was a step into a world that had never truly understood them. When Abby and Joshua married in 2021, it was not a rebellion. It was simply a moment they wanted for themselves. Brittany supported Abby from the start, not as an observer, but as a partner in the moment. Their bond was deeper than most siblings could ever achieve. And Joshua wasn't just marrying Abby. He was marrying both sisters in a sense, because loving Abby meant respecting the life she shared with Brittany. The world's cruel curiosity, but the world couldn't accept their happiness without dissecting it. The internet treated the marriage like a science experiment rather than a private love story. People asked questions with a tone of entitlement. How does it work? What about Brittany? What will happen in the future? The twins had learned to ignore the noise, but they couldn't ignore the damage it caused at home. The pressure of public scrutiny made the family dynamic more fragile than ever. Even those who once supported them began to forget their boundaries. When a TV crew member told their mother, "You owe the world more of an explanation," Brittany responded sharply, "I don't owe the world anything." That statement wasn't anger. It was exhaustion. They were tired of being treated as public property, tired of being forced to explain their lives to people who had no right to ask. A history of exploitation and medical curiosity. To understand their need for privacy, it helps to understand the history of conjoined twins. For centuries, cases like theirs have been treated as medical curiosities rather than human lives. Doctors, researchers, and journalists often view these twins as opportunities for study. Abby and Brittany knew the world's pattern: sensationalize, exploit, and then move on. Their greatest fear was that their lives would be written by others, without consent, without respect. Their marriage intensified that fear. Instead of celebrating their happiness, the public debated it, questioned it, and ridiculed it. They failed to see two adult women making a deeply personal choice. The scrutiny was not just ignorance. It was a reminder of how quickly their humanity could be reduced to a story. A future full of unknowns. As the truth about Abby's marriage settled into the public consciousness, questions multiplied. Would Brittany ever have a romantic partner? How would their lives evolve? Would their marriage last? These questions poured in from social media, talk shows, and online forums, often asked with a tone of entitlement. But the twins remained silent, not because they were hiding something, but because they were protecting themselves. The world will always demand answers, even when it has no right to them. Meanwhile, the distance with their mother remained. Patty had spent years advocating for her daughters, shielding them from the world's harshness. But one moment of public honesty changed everything. The twins didn't hate her. They simply felt that a line had been crossed. The trust that once defined their relationship was gone. The price of privacy and the power of unity. Abby and Brittany Hensel's story is far more human than the internet allows it to be. Their mother's confession didn't create the rumor. It only exposed a reality the world had no right to demand. But the impact of that moment still lingers. the twins continue to live their lives on their own terms, teaching, loving, and navigating a world that rarely understands them. They remain united, literally and emotionally, moving through life shoulder to shoulder. Their bond proves that even when the world tries to break you, unity can survive. Their privacy is not a mystery to be solved. It is a boundary to be respected. And as long as they choose to protect it, their story will remain theirs, no matter how loudly the world demands otherwise.